Hello, hello, this is Pablo with Meditation Amsterdam. Um, I'm literally between meetings at work on a Friday morning, beautiful sunny Friday morning. And I thought I'd share an experience that I had yesterday, which is very much in line with a little mental frame or a practice that I had been kind of exercising in the past, but never as clearly and never as effectively as it happened yesterday. And I think I made just one major leap forward in this particular topic, and I think it's very valuable. I think it's a very interesting one to share and to also ingrain in my own head. And that is regard to dealing with stress and especially anxiety, which has been a recurring theme in my life for I don't know. I mean, I've lived in Europe now 20 years, and I think there's been a lot of that during that time, and I can't quite remember if there was any before or whether it was just lurking under the surface, and it became just more pronounced as I started to live alone in the went out in the world and facing things and whatever. And so it is. I would hate to call it a technique because it's to take a technocratic approach to this, I think would be a serious mistake. But I'm going to share with you how I view now anxiety and because I've tried many things, and this is by far, the most effective frame of mind from which to approach anxiety. There are actually techniques as well, right? So broadening your gaze, softening your breathing from your belly. All those things are definitely important. But I found this to be just far more effective than any of those. And it is the following, and it has to do with a certain type of video that sometimes pops up in my Facebook feed, and I always watch it. And it is this sort of like the Dodo, or I don't know, these websites that keep posting videos about, we found an abandoned, beat up, and neurotic puppy or dog, right? And and you see these videos with people who they find a dog that's been like thrown out of a car or something, and it's living under a tire and just scrambling around for scraps, and it's been kicked around, and you can see that the animal is just it's shaking. It's like it sees people and it begins to just tremble, and if you get close by it tries to bite, but it's like scared and aggressive at the same time, right? It's a little system that has become totally deregulated because of the unkindness of the world, if you will. And it's a very sad thing to see, to me at any rate. But I love watching these videos because there's always the redemption, right? So so they show you the animal that's been beat up and who's become totally untrusting of the world, totally nervous and shaky, and right, and it growls and it tries to bite and stuff. And after half an hour of non-threatening behavior, it learns that whatever it is interacting with is not trying to hurt him. And then they take him in, they shave him, they or her, and they shave it, the dog. They get rid of its fleas and begin to feed it properly, and then suddenly there's a little other dog that's there, and they start to play around a little bit, and then 6 months later, this little dog that was just like beat up and beat down by life and just like trembling out of anxiety and stuff, you see it flourishing, and you see it playing around with all the other dogs in a little garden and stuff, and man, I mean, if anything warms my heart, I love looking at these videos. It's silly, right? It's almost like you want to give yourself that sort of feeling of like, oh, there's good in the world. The pain is being eradicated out of the world, right? Like by people who go out and really help little animals like this. And somewhere in the back of my head, I always thought, wouldn't that be the most rewarding job in the world? Wouldn't it be the most rewarding thing to go out in the world and take defenseless creatures, innocent defenseless creatures who are in pain, and to relieve them of that pain. And would that not be the most noble task that one could spend their life on? I think it would be amazing, right? And then I think to myself, well, yeah, what kind of income could I get from that? And where am I going to go and find, beaten up puppies and, all these things that one starts to think about, like the practicalities of doing this kind of thing. But then it coincided that I had watched one of these videos, and this particular dog just made an impression. It stuck in my memory, right? Like the way its ears were like shaking and stuff, and I watched it 2 days ago, and then yesterday evening I was while I was showering, I think out of a certain thought or out of nowhere or whatever, I felt anxiety in my chest. And I've always thought that if you thought about that anxiety as indeed a helpless, beat up puppy, that you would approach it in a very different way, because you wouldn't push it away, right? Like you would not do that with a hurt, beat up puppy. You wouldn't just go like, please, stay away. It's so annoying to see you here growling and nervous. No, you would embrace it, right? You want to, your protective instinct would kick in, and you would try to indeed end the suffering of that creature. And so it's occurred to me that the anxiety in your chest and your throat and your belly, maybe, right? It's like, so this area here is where all that anxiety is stored. Some of it has to do with things that happen in your life, but the reaction itself, the sensation itself, is the result of millions and millions of years of evolution and previous incarnations, if you will, or inherited memory of all the creatures that preceded you, who have been in terribly scary and helpless situations and somehow managed to procreate so that you would end up here. Let's say to tell the story, but also to feel the anxiety that they passed on to you, right? So the connection that I made is that within you exists an infinite and endless amount of helpless, beat up puppies who are trembling. And that is what you feel in the chest when you feel anxiety. Now, part of the problem is that because we have this totally confused relationship to it, because on the one hand you say, I'm anxious, and on the other hand you reject that part of yourself. And you need to flip that around, of course, in both ways. One of them would be, I'm not anxious. There is anxiety in me. I am here, I am the observer of it, and I'm seeing it, and there it is, right? So I'm not anxious, there is anxiety in me, so there it is. And the second one is, instead of, by that distance, you no longer feel the need to push it away, but you have the ability to then embrace it. So what I did yesterday is, while I was feeling the anxiety in my chest, I thought, this is the beat up puppy. Here it is, right here, right now, asking for your help. And I started to merge the sensation that I felt in my chest with the image of that trembling puppy, so that the only emotion that I could feel in a meta observing way about that anxiety would be one of utter compassion. Nothing else. There was just no space for anything else, because there was just a full identifying of the anxiety in my chest as an endless series of billions of years of beat up puppies who felt that and who passed on that fear into my system, because that's what it is, as a matter of fact, right? And so you have within you a charity case almost, or endless charity cases. Every time something makes you anxious, it is your system asking you, please give me solace, right? Like this needs to be resolved. This pain that has been passed on, and whom a previous creature felt during evolution, has not been resolved yet. That's why it's in your system, and it's your task to resolve that in yourself. As you resolve that in yourself, you resolve it in the universe, because you're not, there's not the universe and you. You're it, right? Like it's all one big system, one big thing. And but I found it to be a very useful frame, actually. And something funny happened when I did this, because trust me, I've tried everything. I've tried breath, I've tried observing it, I've tried ignoring it, I've tried pushing it away. I've tried focusing on a different part of the body that's relaxed, broadening my gaze, all these things. And very often it just persists and eventually it subsides. But with this one, it subsided within about 30 seconds, flat, and it just did not come back. And because it was almost as if I had just integrated it, right? Like I had said to it, you know what? I'm going to be so completely here for you. You are the calling. You are that beat up, hurt, trembling, growling puppy that says, you know, I'm totally dysregulated, and all it needs is kindness, nothing else, and it can't be ignored, it can't be pushed away, and it can't be wished away or techniqued away, if you will. It needs to be just fully embraced with complete compassion. And I think that having watched the video of the puppy gave me the imagery that I needed to trigger that memory of, oh, this is that same situation. This is me looking under like a big truck tire or something and finding that puppy, and the thing now trembling, except it's not a tire and it's not a puppy. It's in here. It's inside my chest, and I'm going to approach it in the exact same way. And when I did, I would almost say that a miracle occurred. Right? It just truly vanished. And I felt incredibly elated the rest of the evening, and I still feel the after effect of it. And I feel like I have found almost I don't want it to turn into a trick. I think it's a major a modality which you could be told about, but which I kind of stumbled upon through experimentation, and which gives me the feeling that from here on, there's a lot of puppy saving to be done, and I don't even need to go anywhere to do it. It can all be done, in the comfort of my living room, and I think it could be quite life transforming, actually. Yeah, I really wanted to share that. As a matter of fact, I hope it helps somebody out there, especially if they have a similar condition, either with panic attacks or maybe anger, could be that, or could be loneliness, could be any of those things, right? Those are all indications of something that was inherited, which is really calling to be resolved. And when you see it as an unwanted part of who you are in essence, you will try to reject it. When you see as something that is appearing in the mind body, and which the self can embrace and address, it completely changes the dynamic. But within that, you could still use the analogy of the puppy, or anything that in your experience brings that feeling of compassion, and it brings it up in you, right? Like whatever brings that feeling of compassion in you for cruelty and suffering, use that imagery and identify what is happening in you, the anxiety happening in you, as precisely that, no different than that. No different than that situation which needs compassion in order to be resolved. Yeah, so that's it. That's today's thought. I I found myself this morning going for coffee, thinking to myself, I have been wishing anxiety away, wishing that I never had it, wishing that I was much more relaxed and whatever, and now, with yesterday's experience, integrating it so easily and feeling so damn good about it, I was almost hoping that anxiety would come up. I was almost literally going like, where's the next puppy that I can help? Like where's my next puppy in my chest that I can go like, oh, it's okay, little buddy, it's okay, I got you, right? And I was like, holy shit, I'm always wishing for anxiety now. I'm always wishing for this stuff to come up so I can just like embrace it, resolve it, give it kindness and give it compassion and stuff. It's like, it's like it's that good, which is amazing. And so yeah, very exciting times, more realizations, more progress as usual, and ups and downs as with everybody else. But my ups and downs are interesting because it's an upward trend at the end of the day. With almost every week a new insight that I discuss with friends, that I read in a book or listen to somebody share online. I came across a very, very interesting one from Bentino Massaro, who has a ton of interesting insights in the way he phrases things, and I'm probably going to try and take a video to elaborate on that, because it has also transformed my meditation. In a single week, it took yet another little notch upwards, which is fantastic. So I hope that helps. I hope you guys are having a fantastic time during these COVID days, and to come and share a little bit more pretty soon. So have a good one, and I'll be back with more ideas about meditation, life, mindfulness, self-realization, you name it. Cheers. Bye.